Hello, I'm Nina Stout, and I am a master's trained nutritionist. I've studied human nutrition and functional medicine, and I'm licensed as a nutritionist in the state of Connecticut. I also am a certified personal trainer. So, welcome to the Lighten Up, Tighten Up program. We happen to be recording this during the summer, and we're gearing up right now for feeling better for summer, but this is a program that's offered year round. And so, the main focus of the Lighten Up, Tighten Up program is to feel better. So we can expect to have improved digestion, clearer skin, deeper sleep, calmer mood, greater motivation, better concentration, and more confidence. And this is the ultimate goal of the Lighten Up, Tighten Up program. So there are two focuses: reduce body fat and increased lean muscle. So it may mean during this program that weight loss occurs, but the main focus is to improve body composition, to not necessarily lose weight, though again, that may happen. So we're favoring the support and preservation and possibly development of lean body mass and reduction of fat mass. So there are three main pillars of the Lighten Up, Tighten Up program, and that's to eat an anti-inflammatory diet over the 30 days of the program. It is a 30-day program. So we're following an elimination diet that's eliminating some of the main inflammatory foods. We are identifying appropriate daily caloric intake to at least maintain weight, but potentially lose weight, as of course that is a common goal and objective for many of the clients that I work with and many people in general. So counting macros is another and the third pillar of the program. Identifying the amount or ratio of carbohydrate, fat, and protein to consume in the diet. There are four main foods or food groups that we absolutely need to avoid on this 30-day program. There's really no question about it. Now, do we need to be 100% with reduction of these foods? Ideally, that would be amazing, but life happens. And if there is 95% compliance, well, we'll take that. If there's kind of falling off the wagon and needing to get back on, that's okay too. But basically, there's four main goals to avoid: sugar, well, let's say gluten first, it's listed first: gluten, dairy, sugar, and alcohol. So gluten is found in wheat, rye, and barley. So looking for gluten-free foods, but what I like to do is really focus on the foods that we can eat. So whole grains, lots of vegetables, some fruits, low glycemic fruits, we're going to go into this, and lean meats, fish, wild game, lean beef, grass-fed beef, and nuts and seeds and good oils, basically. So I'm providing information for you about that. And then as part of the program, we also have some go-to protein shakes that are pre-made. They taste very good, and they support the whole system, the gastrointestinal system, the liver, and they're also very anti-inflammatory. So we're focusing on inflammation because inflammation can absolutely get in the way of weight loss. And we'll see in a little bit when I discuss hormones and hormone balance, how different levels, excess levels of hormones can impact inflammation and can impact overall metabolism. Here's the elimination diet food plan. This is provided to all participants in the program. It focuses on exactly what can be consumed during the diet. So again, I don't like to really focus on what we're avoiding, though it's important to know: gluten, dairy, sugar, alcohol. There are other foods that are not included on this list that you would maybe find to be missing. And so that might be things like soy and corn, but I really try to focus on those four main items. But if you are a vegan or a vegetarian and like to consume tofu, I would recommend organic tofu, and that can be part of the proteins that are chosen. So this is, I'm not going to go into all the detail on this, but this is a great list, especially one to take to the grocery store, and it helps focus on the foods that should be consumed during this program. Now, identifying appropriate caloric intake, I'm going to go through just an easy, quick calculation for what to consume to maintain current weight, and then how to be in a caloric deficit. And I would encourage you to use an online calorie tracker and exercise tracker app, so that it's just easier in general. And I like to use Lose It, Senza, MyFitnessPal. I know a lot of people like to also use other tools and technologies like Noom. And here is just the quick calculation. So for someone who's 150 pounds, we divide by 2.2 to get their weight in kilograms, and then multiplying it by 28 kilocalories or calories per kilogram per day. gets kind of a rough estimation of what a person with average activity can expect to need to consume in order to maintain current weight. So that's about 1,900 calories. And then if we are looking at going into a caloric deficit in order to lose 1 pound a week, we would need to be in a deficit of about 500 calories a day. Now that can be done in a number of different ways. We can consume less calories, but also increase exercise to get that net 500 calorie reduction per day. 500 calorie reduction per day results in 3,500 calorie reduction per week, which is a loss that's the equivalent of what it takes to lose 1 pound per week. So then the third pillar is identifying the proper macronutrient ratio. And this is important specifically because the standard American diet is typically very heavy in carbohydrates and processed carbohydrates, processed foods, foods with added sugars, and those can really do a number on blood sugar levels and hormones, like I talked about before, like insulin, cortisol, leptin. I'm going to circle back to these in a little bit, but these hormones, when they're elevated, can make it very, very hard to actually truly lose weight, even in a caloric deficit. Again, I'm going to get to that in a little bit. It's called weight loss resistance. But for that reason, I really like to focus on a macronutrient ratio where we have a low carbohydrate, moderate protein, high fat intake in the diet. And so these are the macronutrients. The micronutrients, of course, are the vitamins and minerals. And so carbohydrates, I really recommend that we go for high fiber, leafy green, non-starchy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, and some starchy vegetables like sweet potato and squashes, and let's see, beets and things like that. Root vegetables could be included, but in moderation. And then 30% protein. Now we're going to look at what to consume during the day. I am recommending in this program to do 2 shakes per day, and that's going to help us get to the 30% protein and then 45% fat. And that's going to be good fats. It's going to be fats from avocado, extra virgin olive oil. We could include some saturated fats like from coconut oil, which is going to provide those medium chain triglycerides or MCTs that you hear a lot about and supporting ketone production and a ketogenic diet. So this is the general breakdown of the macronutrients. Again, we're going to talk more about the protein shakes. That's going to be an easy way to help us get that protein ratio or 30% protein in the diet. And so I recommend bookending the day with a protein shake in the morning and a protein shake for dinner, and consuming a larger midday meal prior to 6 p.m. So I have that all laid out here as well. And then in addition to the shakes and the midday meal, I recommend probably about 250 calorie snack during the day, or depending on your initial weight, perhaps 2 shakes per day, snacks per day. Okay. Here again is the 25% carb, so low carb, moderate protein, higher fat diet. And this is the general macronutrient distribution that you can refer to later, but we are on an elimination diet where we're eliminating dairy for 30 days. We can get to our protein more easily by having 2 shakes per day. That's providing 52 grams of plant protein each day from those 2 shakes. And then we're mostly choosing the unsaturated fats, and we're watching portion sizes of things like nuts and nut butters, because that can certainly ramp up the caloric intake there. How to build your midday meal plate. This is at least half of your plate for this one larger regular meal of the day, at least half your plate in leafy green veggies, and then a quarter of the plate could be starchy vegetables, again, sweet potato, squash, root vegetables like beets, or like half a cup of whole grains like brown rice or quinoa. And then another quarter of the plate would be your protein, and there could be a snack eaten with that midday meal or sometime later in the day. I don't like to suggest unopposed carbohydrates, which would be like fruit on its own. I would suggest for a snack, serving of fruit like strawberries with possibly some shredded coconut, unsweetened coconut for good fat, and perhaps some nuts, some slivered almonds on top of that. That would be nice. So that's just a visual. And then here are some videos that I've created that you could refer to if you'd like, that show some good examples of salads with sardines, and sardines are actually really, canned sardines are great, inexpensive, high quality protein with great fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids. that could be thrown on a salad to provide, again, that protein and the fats, and very satiating, very mild, really a lot more mild than anchovies. And so anyways, you can see the different midday meal suggestions that I have there, lots of veggies and, again, high quality protein and good fats. And then just to allay any fears, a lot of people think that in order to eat super healthy, they need to eat all organic, and that's not true at all. And that would get very expensive. But there are 12 foods that the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, looks at every year and lists as the top 12 foods to buy, or produce items to buy organic, because these are the produce items that have the most pesticides. So you can see here, bright, sweet food like strawberries are definitely number one. They have a lot of pesticides to ward off pests while they're being grown. So these 12 fruits and veggies are the ones that have the most pesticides and contaminants on them. And so it would be best to buy those organic. They also, the Environmental Working Group also lists a clean 15. These are the foods that are very safe to buy conventionally grown. Now, here are some hacks for the Lighten Up, Tighten Up program to make things a little bit easier to follow a diet that may, again, have a caloric restriction and put you in a caloric deficit for that weight loss. And one of my suggestions is to consider intermittent fasting. So I wanted to provide some information to you about this. And it may seem like a foreign concept to consume food during a very specific window of time, especially for Europeans who are used to having dinner at 8, 9, 10 p.m. But it's worth considering, and it's certainly being embraced by a lot of biohackers, if you will, the intermittent fasting and kind of a time restricted feeding. So eating within a specific window. Very helpful for potentially helping to consume less calories because you're eating in a condensed window of time. And then also it boosts the body's natural anti-aging mechanisms. That period of time when we're fasting, it gives the body a time to clean things out and get rid of dead and dying cells, to turn on autophagy, which is just a fancy way of saying, again, to clean up the debris that's basically waste products of metabolism, essentially. And so that helps to kick into to support longevity and to support optimal health, and even to boost human growth hormone and stem cells, and to really optimize health. So it's a good thing to consider, even at the minimum, fasting for 12 hours each day, like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. However, it's certainly not unusual to find fasting enthusiasts who are looking at like a 16-8 window. So I'm going to show you a couple examples. This would be a 16-8 intermittent fasting example where you're fasting during 16 hours. So finishing eating for the day at 6 p.m. and then not eating again until 10 a.m. I know that it may sound very, very foreign, but in the morning upon waking, water, black coffee, tea, beverages without anything added, really, that like added sugars or fats or anything may be consumed. I personally like to work out when I'm fasted, and so that for me is no problem. But if that seems like it would sound very difficult, working out later in the day could certainly be an option if you are fasting in this longer time frame. And then if that sounds something like you'd like to consider, I'm recommending the protein shake at 10 a.m. for breaking the fast. It's about 250 calories. And then a midday meal between 12 and 4, if possible. And that would be between 600 and 750 calories. And so that's lots of non-starchy veggies, again, half to 3/4 of your plate, non-starchy veggies, 4 to 8 ounces of lean protein, depending on your body weight, and macronutrient, grams of protein to be consumed. And then a couple of servings of good fats. Optional would be a half of a cup of starchy vegetables or whole grains. And again, that ideally would be in the midday time frame, but could be up to 6, 7 p.m. if you're doing the 8-hour, 8 to 8 fast, 12-hour fast, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And then midday snack or later snack, about 250 calories. And then again, another shake at around 6 o'clock, and then be done eating for the day. That would be optimal. That would be probably the best opportunity to be successful with this weight loss protocol, if weight loss is one of the goals. And then I do include a fat busting supplement. It's Zymogen's Leptin Manager, to be taken 1 capsule twice daily. And that helps with curbing cravings, curbing appetite, and restoring the appetite feedback loop. I'm going to explain that product in just a little bit. Here's a different example. Instead of 16 hours of fasting, it's 14 hours of fasting. So fasting from 8 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. Same basic schedule for eating. And then this is an example of the Senza app, which is an app for tracking calories, macros, and intermittent fasting. There's a timer on this that can be used to remind, put reminders in about when to start fasting and when to break a fast. And you see the calories and the net carbs, protein, and fat for the macronutrients. Then there are 3 diet mistakes that I have tended to find to be traps that clients of mine have worked, clients I've worked with have found to be a concern. And so this is not eating enough throughout the day, waiting to eat and then binging and overeating at the end of the day. This can be a real problem for the weight loss process and schedule. And so really just eating throughout the day outside of the fasting window, if there is a fasting window, eating meals at regular times so that there isn't this really huge appetite and hunger built up. So that's a big mistake I tend to find that individuals in general make, and clients I've worked with in the past have made prior to working with me. Then researching all the foods that you like to eat because you've labeled them as bad. This is something that's going to set up cravings that are very, very difficult to ignore, can lead to early dissatisfaction, loss of willpower. So I like to suggest the crowding out approach. So crowding out the things that we know are not so good for us, like Snickers bars. How do we crowd those out? Well, there's lots of great chocolates. I'm a chocoholic. So there's lots of chocolates that you could find that are sweetened with stevia, it's a low glycemic sweetener that is natural and that is not going to throw blood sugar off course. And so, or you could make homemade chocolate. I like to teach my clients how to do that. And so, in other words, crowding out the things that we know are going to be a problem for blood sugar and overall achieving our goals. Things like pizza, we know is not a diet food. I'd like to teach my clients how to do like a cauliflower crust pizza with lots of leafy greens on top, like arugula maybe, and grilled chicken and roasted peppers and olives. So you can crowd out the pizzas that are known to really be so addictive and just, again, laden with cheese and gluten and things that can be pro-inflammatory with things that are a lot healthier. So these are the hacks and tricks and tips that I like to teach my clients. The third diet mistake is not getting enough protein. So prioritizing protein consumption. Again, protein is one of the macros we really focus on, trying to get at least 30% protein per day. And this can really support our lean muscle mass. Remember, we're really working on optimizing body composition, preserving our lean muscle, reducing fat. And when we go on a diet and don't have enough protein and don't move our bodies and stress our muscles, there is the likelihood to lose muscle and retain fat. And then there's this acronym TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And so that's a very, very dangerous metabolic place to be. That can be a recipe for setting up chronic conditions like diabetes, chronic disease like diabetes, heart disease, even osteoporosis, because we need muscle to work the bone to keep the bones healthy and strong. So this is really a concern, not having enough protein. But I'll kind of just touch on this. The RDA for protein is very, very low. It's 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. And this is just enough basically to avoid disease, but not to maintain lean muscle and to optimize health. So I like to recommend that my clients get at least 1.2 grams per kilogram of protein per day. And when we are doing 2 of the protein shakes per day, we're getting 56 grams of protein from those. And then with the midday meal, that would really get us above the recommended amount. So I won't go too much into the equations, but if you have questions, please reach out about this. And then, so here's some information on the protein shakes that are part of this 30-day program, this Lighten Up, Tighten Up program. I use the Zymogen OptiCleanse GHI shakes. They have vegan protein, 26 grams, as I mentioned, lots of vitamins, minerals, glutamine, which is great for the GI tract and healing and repairing the GI tract, the small intestine in particular, and flax helps keep things moving through. And they really taste great. You could choose chocolate or vanilla or a combination of both. And again, herbs for the liver. So basically a lot of good support for gastrointestinal system, the liver. It's anti-inflammatory, soy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free. It's a very, very clean product and low calorie, high protein. There are some herbs in the product. So if you have any concerns about how you might react to any of the herbs, please reach out and let me know. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer. And so moving along to 3 lifestyle components that are very important during this 30-day program. Drink enough water. Drink half your weight in ounces of water. So again, 150-pound person, consume at least 75 ounces of water per day. Now, moving the body at least 30 minutes a day. So at least walking 30 minutes a day. But as I mentioned before, I really stress the importance of strength training. It doesn't have to be weight training. It could be body weight resistance training. So things like push-ups, sit-ups, modified push-ups, if push-ups initially are difficult, but working out with light weights, if you have access to a gym or a personal trainer that can help you. I am a personal trainer. I am able to train remotely or in person. So we could also set up some support for you there. And then getting enough sleep, at least 7 hours of sleep at night. So I mentioned before weight loss resistance, and it can be unfair when there is the situation where a person has worked hard to get into caloric deficit, as I mentioned before. If we are doing, normally our weight would take about 1,900 calories a day to maintain that weight, and perhaps making changes, 1,400 calories a day is being consumed, but weight loss is still not happening. What we're typically looking at there, and it's very unfair, is weight loss resistance. So again, weight loss will only occur in a calorie deficit, but it doesn't always occur in a calorie deficit if some hormone imbalances get in the way. So there's 3 main hormones that can affect weight loss, and that's elevated cortisol, which are our stress hormone, elevated insulin, which gets elevated when there's too much blood sugar in circulation, and there can be insulin resistance that can really affect weight loss. And again, that's why I recommend a very low carbohydrate diet and avoiding sugar. And then leptin is our satiety hormone. It's produced by fat cells, and it can be dysregulated when there's been overweight for a period of time. And it's kind of the hormone that's supposed to tell our brain that we're full and we don't need to eat anymore, but we can get leptin resistance over time. It can be a very pro-inflammatory hormone. So intermittent fasting and very low carbohydrate diet can help a person to overcome weight loss resistance. And this is an area that I absolutely specialize in. I have a lot of experience with. So if this is something that comes up during the 30-day program, I am able to really support with additional help along those lines. So we would be supporting you there. And then this product is great also for that whole weight loss resistance piece of it. It's leptin manager, and it does help to restore that appetite feedback loop with that hormone leptin that we were just talking about. It also curbs cravings and does help eventually with curbing appetite. So again, to review the 3 pillars of the Lighten Up, Tighten Up program, again, we're in summer right now, but this is a program that can be done anytime, any 30-day window, is to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. We talked about what to avoid: sugar, alcohol, gluten, dairy. And then number 2, to identify daily caloric intake. And so there's quick formula that I included earlier in the slide deck as to how to do that. But downloading an app is a very easy way and reliable way to look at what your caloric needs would be based on your weight and your weight loss goals. And then it also helps to set up what the macronutrient ratio should be if you're doing low carb, moderate protein, high fat. So the 2 focuses are to reduce body fat and to increase lean muscle. And ultimately the goal is to feel better. So again, improving digestion, helping to clear up skin issues, improving sleep, calmer mood, greater motivation, better concentration, and more confidence. Now, the program is inclusive of 60 nutrient-dense protein shakes. They're meant to be taken 1 twice a day, let's say breakfast meal replacement, and then dinner meal replacement. And then, like I said, a midday meal, that's your main meal of the day. It should be something that you enjoy eating and is very satisfying, and then a healthy snack. So the shakes end up being a $12 a day value. If you think about it as 1 shake shake being $6. Hey, that's less than a Starbucks latte, and it's a lot more nutritious. And then the 30-day fat busting formula, that's a $90 value. So already that's $360 plus 90, that's $450. My program is just that, $449, and it includes the products, recipes that I've created for the Elimination Diet program, and then ongoing coaching for me to help keep you on track. So please reach out if you would like to talk to me more about the program. If you're interested, there's a link that you can use here to sign up for the 30-day program. Paying online, it's $449, and it includes all of the above. So I look forward to hearing from you and to knowing your questions and to potentially working with you in the not too distant future. Thank you.